Hi there! In our last video we looked at how a transistor acts like a tiny electronic valve. We used it as a switch, turning an LED fully on or fully off. And that's easy, and it's the foundation of digital electronics. But what if you want to amplify an analog signal, like music or even your voice? If you just plug an audio signal straight into a transistor, you are going to get a horrible distorted mess. Half of your sound wave will simply vanish. To fix this, we need to master the art of biasing, which is simply setting our bulb to be exactly half open when there is no input signal. Today we are going to demystify biasing, look at the incredibly simple math behind it, build a working 9-volt amplifier, and see how it all behaves on the oscilloscope. Let's begin! Think of your transistor like a water tap. If the valve is completely closed, no water flows. In the transistor world, we call this cutoff. If the valve is spun wide open, water flows at maximum capacity, and we call this saturation. An audio signal is an alternating current. It swings positive and then it swings negative. If our valve is completely closed at rest, it can only open when the audio signal goes positive. The moment the signal goes negative, nothing happens. The valve is already closed. The bottom half of your music gets completely chopped off. So how do we fix this? We bias the transistor, which means we use a couple of resistors to set our electronic valve to be exactly half open when there is no input signal. This happy medium is called the quiescent point or Q point. Because the valve is half open at rest, the audio signal can ride up and down freely without hitting the floor or the ceiling, as long as it is not too large. Let's build the most classic transistor amplifier in history, the Common Emitter amplifier. We will use a standard 9-volt battery, a 2N3904 NPN transistor, and 4 chip resistors. Now, don't panic, please. The math to design this is incredibly simple if we use these few steps. Step 1. Determine the specifications. First, the power supply. We said we use a 9-volt battery for our simple circuit, therefore VCC equals 9 volt. Based on the transistor datasheet, we have an average HFE of 200 and a VBE of 0.7 volt. Now, if this small amplifier will be used just to amplify a small signal voltage, we can set IC to 10 mA, and we can approximate IE to the same value, since the base current is going to be 200 times smaller and therefore negligible. Now, let's go to step 2. Find the emitter resistor RE. We can simply calculate the emitter voltage as 1/10 of the power supply voltage. This is enough to prevent variations of the HFE to affect our design. And so, VE will be equal 0.1 times VCC or 0.9 volt. And this we can round up to 1 volt. Now, we can apply Ohm's law to calculate the emitter resistor. Yes, the simple Ohm's law. RE equals VE over IE, which is 100 ohms. And now step 3. Find the collector resistor. For that, we need first to determine the collector voltage VC. Now, to be able to deal with symmetrical signals, we need to set VC to half the value of the power supply, which is 4.5 volt. Now we can apply again Ohm's law to find RC. And so we have RC equals VCC minus VC over IC, or 450 ohms. And this we can round to the closest available value of 470 ohms. Now let's go to the step 4. which is find the value of resistor R1. For that, we need to have a couple more information. First, the value of the voltage at the base of the transistor. That will be VB. And VB equals VE plus VBE, or 1.7 volt. Second, in order to have a collector current of 10 mA, we will need a base current of IB equals IC over HFE, which is equal to 50 microamps or 0.05 milliamps. In order to have a stable amplifier, we will need a current at least 10 times this flowing through resistor R1. This way we can approximate the current through R2 to the same value. If we call such current I12, its value will be I12 equals 10 times IB equals 500 microamps equals 0.5 milliamps. And now we can use one more time Ohm's law and calculate R1 as the ratio between VCC minus VB over I12. And this ratio equals to 14.6 K, which we can round to 15 K. Finally, the last step, the calculation of R2. For that, one more time we use Ohm's law and we obtain R2 equals VB over I12, which is equal to 3.4 K, and this we can round to the closest standard value of 3.3 K. Now our transistor is biased and is sitting happy at its Q point, but we still need to get our audio signal in and out. To do that, we need to add the two 10 microfarad coupling capacitors. These capacitors act like high-pass filter guards. They let our AC audio signal to go right through, but they completely block the DC voltages. And this ensures our bias levels don't leak out, and whatever we plug into the input doesn't mess up our careful calculations. But how much louder will our signal actually get? For a simple common emitter circuit like this, the voltage gain AB is roughly the ratio of the collector resistor to the emitter resistor. Since we used a 470 ohm collector resistor and a 100 ohm emitter resistor, our gain is roughly 4.7. So if we inject a tiny 200 mV signal, we should get a clean 0.94 volt signal out, which is about 1 volt. Let's look at this on the bench, where I have already built our circuit exactly as we designed it. On the oscilloscope, the yellow line is our tiny input wave. The blue line is our output wave. You can see it is significantly larger, amplified right around 5 times. You'll also notice it's upside down, and that's totally normal for a common emitter amplifier. It naturally inverts the phase of the signal. But look what happens if I mess with our bias. If I swap out this 15K resistor for a much smaller 3.3K resistor, see that? Because we changed the bias, we pushed the transistor into saturation. The valve is stuck too far open, and the wave is crashing hard against the floor, and this is exactly what clipping distortion looks like in an overdriven audio amplifier. Now you might be wondering, what if I'm using a MOSFET instead of a BJT? Well, the basic idea of biasing is exactly the same. However, the MOSFET is voltage controlled instead of current controlled. The gate pin of a MOSFET draws absolutely zero current, and that means our voltage divider math on the input is actually perfect in the real world. No approximations, no loading effect, just a feeble current through R1 and R2 will suffice. However, instead of needing just 0.7 volt to turn on, a MOSFET typically requires a much higher gate-to-source threshold voltage, often between 2 and 4 volt, before it even begins to open. To bias a MOSFET in a common source amplifier, we simply adjust our input voltage divider to sit comfortably above that threshold voltage. The same concept, just a different kind of bulb. Here is the design procedure for such a small amplifier, and it is very similar to the one for the BJT. So, step 1. Determine the specifications. Again, we will use a power supply voltage of 9V, as in the case of the BJT. We will also use the same Q-point current of 10 mA, which is the drain current ID. We will set the drain voltage to half the supply voltage to guarantee the symmetry of the output voltage swing, so VD equals 4.5V. We will also set the source voltage to 1/10 of the supply voltage to help prevent a thermal runaway and secure the Q-point stability. Now let's go to step 2. Find the drain resistor RD. This can be easily done using Ohm's law. Yes, one more time. RD equals 0.5 VCC over ID, and that gives us 450 ohm, which we can round up to 470 ohm. Now step 3. Find the source resistor RS, and again we use Ohm's law. RS equals 0.1 VCC over ID, which is 90 ohm, which we approximate with 100 ohm. Step 4. Calculate the needed gate voltage, VG. This will be just the sum of the voltage on RS and the voltage VGS of the MOSFET, which we need to take from its datasheet. And the datasheet for this kind of MOSFET gives us 3V. So VG equals Vs plus VGS equals 3.9V. Step 5 now. Calculate the gate divider resistor, which are the resistors R1 and R2. Because the gate draws zero current, we do not need to follow the 10 times rules we used for the BJT. We just need a small current flowing through these two resistors. However, do not make this current too small in order to prevent issues with current leaks and noise. A good rule of thumb to set the total divider resistance is to use something in between 1 and 10 megaohms. For example, we can choose 1 meg for R2. From there, we calculate R1 based on the voltage ratio we want, and this will give us, at the end, a value of 1.3 megs, which we have to round down to 1.2 megs. Biasing might seem like black magic when you look at pages of textbook equations, but once you visualize it as setting a valve to sit half open, the pieces start falling into place more simply. I've put all the information from this video in a nice article that you can read on my blog eleneasy.com, and its link is in the description below. Grab a breadboard, some cheap 2N3904 and 2N7000, and try building these circuits yourself. Plug a signal generator or a phone headphone jack into the input, and see what you can create. If you found this helpful, please hit that subscribe button, give me a thumb up, and let me know in the comments if you successfully got your first amplifier working. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next video, and happy experiments!